Trump has nothing in common with Jesus, who was from the Middle East. Trump wouldn't even let him in the country. Jesus healed the blind. Trump mocks the handicapped. Jesus turned the other cheek. Trump grabs your pussy. Jesus turned water into wine. Trump just whines. The Bible says, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. Trump says, fine, what about my daughter? He did.
Trump thought his biggest threat was the DOJ. Turns out it's two comedians with a Wi-Fi connection and zero chill. Bill Maher and Jimmy Kimmel just cracked open the vault on Trump's marriage, and what spilled out has Mar-a-Lago scrambling for damage control. Melania's silence? Deafening. Trump's tantrum? Oscar-worthy. Whatever the secret is, it's messier than his last press conference, and twice as hilarious. Buckle up, because this isn't just gossip, it's a marital meltdown in high definition.
The fact that he was the only person not wearing a dark suit did not go unnoticed, so the White House press secretary pushed back. She said the president looked great and presidential alongside our stunning First Lady, who was, as usual, dressed perfectly for the occasion. And she's right about Melania. I don't know about stunning, but she definitely looks stunned. Show them together, because this is the happiest I've ever seen these two together. It's like they're on their second honeymoon or something. And then the president either went deep in prayer or deep asleep. I don't know.
When Bill Maher and Jimmy Kimmel decide to dig into something, you can bet your last McDonald's cheeseburger that it's going to get messy. And when the target is Donald Trump's marriage, oh boy, grab the popcorn and a fire extinguisher, because someone's about to spontaneously combust.
And finally, new rule, Melania Trump must do what dozens of buildings around the world have done and take the Trump name off. So far, over a dozen Republican candidates tried to stop Trump and couldn't. Hillary couldn't. Never Trumpers couldn't. Mueller couldn't. Is there anyone left who can check Donald Trump? Yes, Melania. It's not anti-feminist to say that in addition to doing everything men can do intellectually, women also have another power, the power of the ultimatum. Getting men to change their destructive ways by threatening to leave them, humiliate them, or cut them off in bed. It's a tale as old as time.
Apparently, the two late-night troublemakers have uncovered a few too many uncomfortable truths about Trump and Melania's relationship. Not that anyone thought they were the picture of romance to begin with. One looks perpetually lost in thought, Melania. The other is permanently in love with himself. But now, with Maher and Kimmel pointing fingers and cracking jokes that sound more like exposés, things have gone nuclear at Mar-a-Lago.
As is tradition, except for 4 years ago when Trump refused to do it, the outgoing first couple welcomed the incoming president and first lady, which was interesting to watch. Trump actually got involved in Melania's outfit for this ceremony. A lot of people are talking about it. He told her he thought it would be super hot if she dressed like a goth Al Capone. And so she did. We found Carmen Sandiego.
Let's start with the comedy duo's latest antics. Maher, with his usual sardonic charm, laid out the theory that Melania's role in the Trump empire is less wife and more contracted spokesperson who occasionally appears for decorative purposes. And Kimmel? He turned it into a stand-up roast, suggesting that Melania hasn't vanished. She's just been placed in witness protection after too many awkward hand-holding incidents.
I bounce light off my diamond, Donald's hair will chase it like a cat. I wish I knew why I have a recurring dream I'm pinned beneath a giant orange sack of shit. And if I could tell my younger self just one thing, it would be this. If you catch a leprechaun and he gives you one wish, be more specific.
And yet, for once, the jokes weren't just jokes. Hidden between the punchlines were some pretty sharp jabs. References to real rumors, actual legal documents, and whispers from insiders that have been floating around since Trump started treating the presidency like a failed casino opening. Let's talk about the NDA. Yes, allegedly there's a non-disclosure agreement involved, not the salacious type you usually hear about in Trump world, but one signed by Melania herself. Because nothing says soulmates like legally mandating silence. According to former friends-turned-memoirists, Melania's agreement goes beyond your average prenup. It allegedly outlines her responsibilities, her appearance schedule, and possibly her limits on public displays of affection, which, in hindsight, might explain that infamous hand slap heard round the world. Now imagine two comedians referencing all this on national television. Trump, who famously handles criticism with the grace of a toddler denied ice cream, didn't exactly take it well. Insiders say he erupted, shouting about loyalty, betrayal, and how no one respects the sacred bond between a billionaire and his contractually obligated spouse anymore. The man launched into a tantrum so loud, staffers at Mar-a-Lago briefly considered calling FEMA.
Hey, speaking of prisoners, this should be an interesting Valentine's Day at the White House. For instance, will Donald Trump get flowers from Vladimir Putin? We don't know. And what about his wife, Melania? Will they spend the night together, or will she remain trapped like Rapunzel at their apartment in New York? Do you know Melania Trump has a new line of greeting cards? They carry these now at CVS. They're interesting, actually. I've not seen any. Happy Valentine's Day. Open out, Sabin. Cute. Another one. Starts with Be Mine. There's Donald and Melania. The code to my security gate is star 4386 star. And a more personal card. This one, to my Valentine. I will be waiting on the roof of tower at dawn. Signal from ground with 3 flashes. I will jump. Catch me or don't. Either way, better off.
And let's not forget Melania's own role in this drama, by which we mean her complete absence. She hasn't been seen on the campaign trail. She hasn't given a single interview. At this point, Bigfoot has had more public appearances. And while Trump's team insists she's just private, others are starting to wonder if she's actually staging the world's slowest, quietest escape. Maher even joked that Melania is so detached, her next public statement might come through a medium. Meanwhile, Kimmel mocked the idea that she's supporting from afar, which seems to mean supporting another zip code, possibly even another time zone. But this mystery isn't new. Flashback to the early days of Trump's presidency, when Melania famously delayed her move to the White House. The official story was that she was waiting for Barron to finish school. The unofficial, now increasingly plausible theory? She was busy renegotiating the prenup. Because if you're going to move into the White House with a man who spends more time tweeting than governing, you better secure the bag. And here's the kicker. Trump is reportedly still furious about that delay. Not because she stayed behind, but because people noticed. Ever since then, Melania's strategic ghosting has only fueled speculation. Is she silently protesting, carefully preserving her brand, or just trying to avoid being dragged into another round of legal drama by proximity?
Melania, the world needs you. President Hellboy has proved to be impervious to facts, reason, shame, and the law. But maybe if you left him for another man, especially if that man was Mexican.
Cue the rage. Trump's response to the Maher Kimmel expose was pure, unfiltered meltdown. He reportedly stormed around Mar-a-Lago, demanded loyalty pledges from staff, and tried to craft a statement affirming his perfect marriage. None of his aides knew how to write that with a straight face, so it never got released. According to some unlucky souls present, he even called up a few Fox regulars to demand they defend his relationship on air. They politely declined, citing conflict of interest or possibly just self-respect. Because trying to sell America on the idea that Melania is passionately committed to this campaign is like trying to convince people that Rudy Giuliani is sober. No one's buying it. And then there's the truth nobody wants to say out loud, but Maher and Kimmel gleefully pointed out Melania's absence isn't just awkward, it's politically damaging. While other candidates parade their spouses around like emotional support animals, Trump's better half is doing her best impression of a deep-sea creature, rarely seen and possibly mythical. Every time she skips a rally, it reinforces the image of a man surrounded by silence, scandals, and sycophants. It's like watching a sitcom where the wife character has left the show, but no one rewrote the script, so the husband just keeps talking to a chair.
We have the other big Trump book. Melania's memoir came out today. It's called Melania. It's named after her. Proceeds from sales of the book are going to one of Melania's favorite charities, Body Doubles for Conjugal Visits. Very good book. Right now, the book is ranked number 17 on Amazon, and despite the fact that it just came out, even has reviews. Here's one of the reviews. J Love gives it 5 stars, says, "Wonderful. This was the best book I've ever read." Which is a nice way of saying I've never read another book.
Meanwhile, Kimmel speculated that Melania's next major public move might involve her lawyer. Because let's face it, if Trump's legal troubles keep multiplying like rabbits on Red Bull, Melania's best move might be to build a solid paper trail before the Mar-a-Lago ship goes down completely. Which brings us to the newest rumors, another prenup renegotiation. Yep, the sequel. Sources claim Melania has been quietly meeting with attorneys, ensuring that if Trump goes down, she and Barron won't be left trying to auction off golden toilets. And let's be honest, can you blame her? Trump's finances are shakier than his spelling, and his list of indictments reads longer than a CVS receipt. If you're married to a man who could owe more legal fees than the GDP of a small country, it makes sense to lawyer up while he's still pretending to be rich. But of course, Trump sees it differently. He believes in loyalty, especially the kind that's legally binding. The fact that comedians are pulling back the curtain on his marriage enrages him, not just because it's embarrassing, but because it undermines the illusion. The whole Trump brand is built on smoke, mirrors, and extremely aggressive PR. Expose the marriage for what it really is, and suddenly the emperor isn't just naked, he's boring.
Trump promised are underway. Large-scale raids on undocumented immigrants started today, which means Melania is hiding in her bedroom for 2 reasons now. Yesterday, the president signed an order to lift all government DEI requirements and to put all federal employees who are working on DEI-related initiatives on immediate leave. Donald Trump won't be satisfied until his administration is as white as the chiclets his son calls teeth.
And Trump can handle being hated, mocked, even indicted. But boring, that's unforgivable. So what do Maher and Kimmel really represent here? Not just 2 guys cracking jokes, but 2 voices saying the quiet part out loud. They're not just entertaining, they're poking holes in a facade so fragile it makes tissue paper look like titanium. And Trump can't stand it. Because the secret they exposed isn't just that Melania might be phoning it in, it's that the whole Trump narrative is falling apart. The alpha male image, the loyal family, the unshakable marriage, it's all fiction held together by sheer bravado and a lot of hairspray. And America's catching on. The public reaction has been brutal. Social media lit up like it was Christmas morning, and Trump had just given everyone the gift of meme-worthy content. Melania memes are back in style. Blink twice if you're held hostage jokes have resurfaced. And even TikTok teens who weren't alive for the Access Hollywood tape are now parodying her disappearing act like it's a new dance challenge. Meanwhile, Trump's defenders are scrambling. Some tried the classic "she's just private" defense, which would be a lot more convincing if her idea of privacy didn't include skipping nearly every single political event her husband's involved in. Others claim the criticisms are sexist, because apparently holding a former First Lady accountable for abandoning the campaign trail is an attack on femininity now.
Derangement syndrome, and I would just like to say to my Republican friends, it's not deranged to fear this.
No.
It's not deranged to find this alarming.
No. If he says
it is, what?
I said, yeah, we're not saying this. We're not guessing what he's going to do. He's saying,
no.
This is what I'm going to do.
The Supreme Court
I'm
decision.
going to get Liz Cheney in a military tribunal. His people have said they're going to arrest my producers. He said he was going to shut down CBS because he didn't like how they edited a package in 60 minutes. He's out of control.
But perhaps the best defense came from a loyalist who insisted Melania supports Trump in her own way. Yes, from several miles away, with no words, no presence, and possibly no forwarding address. So where does this all lead? To a very uncomfortable question for Trump. If your wife won't stand by you, who will? Because in politics, optics matter. And right now, the optics are that Donald Trump is running a solo campaign with a cardboard cutout of his wife, and even that might be filed for divorce. His rage is understandable. He built a brand on having it all: the wealth, the women, the power. But now, the wealth is dubious, the women are hiding or testifying, and the power is slipping through his fingers like golf balls into a water hazard. So yes, Trump erupted. Because when comedians start sounding more like journalists and your marriage starts looking like a punchline, all you've got left is yelling into the void and hoping someone still believes it. And that's the real punchline. Don't worry, we'll keep watching. Because if Melania ever makes a surprise appearance, we're going to need a lie detector, a translator, and probably a priest. And if Trump's marriage really is just a carefully choreographed illusion, then kudos to Maher and Kimmel for popping the balloon. Now let's see how many more fall before the campaign ends in confetti or cuffs. And here's where the clown makeup starts to smear. Because as hilarious as it is to watch Trump spiral over a few late-night zingers, this marital melodrama actually peels back the curtain on something much juicier and far more dangerous for his campaign. The total collapse of his carefully curated image of dominance, devotion, and, well, togetherness. Trump has always sold himself as the alpha, the strongman, the deal maker, the billionaire family patriarch, the guy with the gold toilet and the loyal model wife who floats behind him like a Stepford shadow. But now, that image has cracked like one of his hush money payments. When your own spouse is ghosting your campaign harder than Mike Pence at a gay pride parade, people start to ask questions. The message is simple and brutal. If even Melania won't pretend to be supportive, why the hell should anyone else? But Melania, she's practically a myth at this point, a blurry figure who might show up once a year like Bigfoot if Bigfoot wore Louboutin heels and communicated solely through squints. And it's not just absence, it's strategy. Which brings us to the juiciest twist of all, the rumored renegotiation. Yes, you heard that right. The whispers from inside Trump world are getting louder. Melania may be updating her prenup again, because nothing screams true love like preemptively protecting your assets from a man who might owe half of Florida in legal fees by next Thursday. And now, with Trump bleeding money faster than his Truth Social stock, the theory goes that Melania is doing what any seasoned brand ambassador would do, minimizing exposure and maximizing exit strategy. And in politics, perception is king. When your marriage starts looking like a hostage situation with a non-disclosure clause, it's no longer just comedy fodder. It's a credibility collapse. And just like that, Trump's ego tripped over its own toupee. The marriage that can't be memed enough just became the nation's favorite reality show. Except no one signed up for this much secondhand cringe. His meltdown wasn't just about jokes, it was about accuracy. Maher and Kimmel didn't throw punches. They dropped truth grenades in monologue form. And while the GOP plays Where's Waldo with integrity, two comedians just did more investigative journalism in 5 minutes than Congress has all year. When satire feels more like a documentary, maybe the punchline is the presidency itself.